Hey guys, welcome. Yeah, as you saw in the community, I was planning on doing another one of those monologues, like movie monologues. I was just like, I was looking up a couple, and I'm like, this isn't really a short, So it's like, I'm trying to. I think I may just not stick to just doing shorts for that, just because that might limit me a little bit. Just because those shorts go so quick, it's like, 60 seconds is up, and I don't want to like start one and then it be cut off. So if it fits a short, then I will do it as a short. If it doesn't fit as a short, then I'll just do it as a regular 1 minute, 2 minute monologue, whatever. But I did have fun doing the Fugitive one last year. But I've been doing that one for years, so I literally had that one memorized. So that was easy to do. Whereas some of the other ones, I'm like, I need to watch them a couple times. I was looking at Rocky Balboa's speech to his son, which is pretty good, and the Any Given Sunday speech, things like that. So me and Anna are going to do one from the Breakfast Club at some point. But she needs to get a wig for that before we do that. So maybe next week. Anyway, but like I said, I'm going to do a couple other things here. After this, I will do a Night Court retrospective podcast, specifically focused on Night Court and its influences and stuff like that. But right now, finally, I'm here to do a Candyman pitch. Yeah. I have a little fake hook around here somewhere, but I don't know where it's at right now. So pretend I have a hook on my hand. Anyway, let's talk about a pitch. So the way this works, guys, for those of you who haven't seen the other pitches, and if you haven't, check them out. Actually, I just had a new subscriber that watched the Halloween ones. What I did, I started this last year, actually, and we're almost to Halloween again. So I've been doing these pitches for almost a year. I thought it's been a little while since I did one, since the Scream ones, but even those took a while to flush out. But basically what I do is I follow up the original movies and I follow up all the sequels and do kind of a pitch for what we could do to follow up, like if we continue the story or if characters survive or whatever, where we're going to take it and stuff like that. And go a little further against what they had done to try to make it not just seem like, well, here's what I would do. Like I don't want to just be like, well, here's what they did in the remake, so this is what I'm going to do. I don't want to take those same ideas because hey, somebody else did them. So we try to tweak it in a way that we can get into. Now, what happened in real life, obviously, was the original Candyman came out, and then they did a sequel called Farewell to the Flesh, which wasn't bad. It was set in New Orleans. It wasn't as good as the first one. Did a little too much of the jump scares, I think, which there was some in the original, but like it was much more like ambiance and atmosphere. And then there was a third one, which I still refuse to watch yet. I will for the ranking video and for a pitch that I have to do following that piece of garbage. But the third one was really bad. Even Tony Todd thought it was bad. So anyway, it was I think it was a straight-to-video sequel too. So like, I think Farewell to the Flesh at least came to theaters and stuff. I remember watching that in high school. It's not terrible. I do like the New Orleans setting, and I've got the kind of Cajun voice going on. Yeah, and in the sequel, I think the only returning character really is like there's that one heavy-set professor with the ponytail. He returns, and he had a connection to Helen Lyle's character and all that. But beyond that, I think everything Candyman himself, nobody else really returned. So much like some of the other horror sequels, other than Candyman, most of these characters aren't returning. But they kind of tease that the other girl had some kind of connection as well. Candyman likes blondes. That seems to be a theme. So white blonde women. So that's cool. I like blondes too. I married one. Anyway, obviously, like I said, the first movie was always the best. And I'm not doing a ranking video about the four movies, but like once I watched the third one, but the first one's always going to be the best. And that's not always the case in a horror series, as you've seen with some of my ranking videos. I don't always rank the first movie the best because sometimes you get a sequel that's really good. It doesn't mean the first one's not good, but sometimes it's like, ooh, they improved upon it, or they added something different to it. But with Candyman, I would definitely say that it stands the test of time and is just an excellent film. Virginia Madsen's great, and Tony Todd, just that powerful voice, that powerful presence, and it has a very Dracula type, feel to it too, with the way he, reaches to her and seduces her and things like that, and. It's just amazing. And the man put live bees in his mouth. Live bees. He got stung very bad, but he got paid very well, though. So at least he got paid very well. So I was looking up on Wikipedia, and apparently the director of the first one wanted to do a prequel, which was going to go more into Helen Lyle and their connection, but the studio didn't want to do that because why make sense? Why make sense? Which, granted, sometimes a prequel can ruin a movie, but I don't know. I think it would have been interesting. They do in the second one go a little bit into the backstory a little bit more, and how everything that happened and stuff like that, and maybe how the bees kind of connected a little bit. But anyway, we're not going to worry about that because this is a pitch for following up the first freaking movie. So at the end of the first movie, Helen Lyle has kind of sort of not taken over as Candyman, but is now, she kills her ex-husband, husband, whatever the case. Estranged husband, I guess, because they didn't have time to get divorced, obviously, from his cheating ways with the girl without a bra, obviously. But it's like, I'm not trying to be perverse. I'm just saying she ain't wearing a bra, if you can tell. Like, I mean, come on. We all have eyes, right? But yeah, Xander Berkeley, who, of course, I remember he was on 24 and stuff like that. He also was the turncoat in Air Force One. So he's got a good voice, too. I can tell he does some voiceover as well. He's got a deep, booming voice as well. But yeah, he gets his because he says Helen, 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 Helen 5 times, and then she appears and, and that takes him out. Now, what's interesting, though, is that girl he was with, obviously, saw him murdered and all that stuff. So my thought process is that if the cops come, they're probably going to think that she did it. So in a way, Helen kind of gets her revenge on that, floozy little student who, messed around with a married man. So I think we should, she shouldn't be the main focus by no means. But I think we should go with that a little bit. And I think what we should also do is really let the Helen Lyle thing start to come to light a little bit. So I would try to get Virginia Madsen back, even if it's just in to appear in the mirror and shit like that. But I don't want to make her the main character because this is still Candyman. But I think what we can do is, and what I've done with some other films too, is making the power rise again, making the legend rise again, which is kind of a little bit what they did in the original or the remake, follow-up, sequel, remake, whatever, requel, whatever you want to call it. By the end, you see Tony Todd's face. So in a sense, he's back. But I think really, we want to start that with Helen Lyle. I would say, we reference the girl gets arrested and she's trying to say, I didn't do it. And so then, now you're going to probably say, well, who the hell's just going to be saying Helen in their mirror 5 times, that seems just weird. Helen, 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 Helen. Whereas Candyman sounds creepy and stuff. It's like, Helen, 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 Helen. So it's not going to be the main focus point. But but as usual with things that go urban legend, the thing starts to change. So maybe they instead of saying something like Bloody Mary, they're like, Helen Lyle, Helen. Because, the original thing was kind of the takeoff of Bloody Mary anyway. So, some young dummies start doing the Helen Lyle thing, and her legend starts to grow a little bit. But really what her legend's doing is actually making Candyman's legend grow and getting him power so he can rise back up. And he'll start to rise back up at Cabrini Green, which this will be a couple years later. This won't be it's not going to be 20, 30 years in the future like the recall was. But I would say, let's say about 10 years has passed since this happened. And by this point, stupid people being stupid with urban legends and daring each other to, say Bloody Helen Lyle or something like that. That's a lot of words. But anyway, whatever. Bloody Helen. We'll say Bloody Helen instead of Bloody Mary. There we go. Bloody Helen, Bloody Helen, Bloody Helen. And that'll be the start of it, like you said. But like I said, the last thing we want to do is, having white people, appropriate enough. This is Candyman's freaking series. So yeah, she's not going to be by all means the main character. In fact, I would probably just get her to come in for cameo role, somewhat like that, because that's probably all we're going to get. She didn't come back with a sequel, so she has a budgeting career, a budding career as an actress. She's excellent in Sideways too, by the way. But I've always liked her as an actress anyway. But so she's got other projects and stuff. So I would say maybe just get her in for a little bit of the mirror scenes, have a couple mirror scenes happen. But as it goes on, then she her power is basically transferred back, and Candyman lets her go to rest. She's gotten her revenge on her ex-husband and that cheating floozy. And they pretty much lock up the cheating floozy. We don't see her anymore. She's not a main character. Doesn't matter. So then Candyman's power starts to rise again. Now he's back. The Candyman is back. And so, yeah, the rest of the movie will be him kind of then we have to figure like, okay, well, who's he gonna go after now? Because he's taking, Helen's gone, she died sacrificing herself, or some people like saying she's a white savior, which whatever. Okay, I get kind of tired of that stuff sometimes, but it's like, okay, technically, yeah, but like, I think that it was still well done. Anyway, but I won't get on a big subject on that. But sometimes we get a little bit overboard on like everything being a white savior. And I agree that can be. Believe me, there's definitely movies where I think there's big look, the white savior help that by all means, that where they're so obvious what they're doing. Like we're trying to win an Oscar. This is look at this white person helping this black person. And it's just like, But for this case, it was a horror movie, guys. It's like, come on, calm down. But anyway, yeah, it's Candyman starts to rise again. So we have to figure out from here, because in the second one, it was just some other girl that really didn't have a connection that I can remember. Let me check for sure. I don't think she had any connection to Helen Lyle, because I thought maybe she was a relative, or maybe she was a relative of the original girl that he was in love with, maybe. Let me check that real quick. Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh. I am fully prepared and ready. See, I had this in my mind, but like I knew exactly where I was going with it, but just want to be clear on this. As her brother stands trial for killing an outspoken New Orleans professor, inner city school teacher Annie Tarrant begins hearing rumors of a Candyman, a murderous knife, and is skeptical of the candidate. It follows a procedure of summoning him, and suddenly finds they summoned him in Mardi Gras. That's what they did. Okay, but yeah, it doesn't look like she had any actual connection. So she has no connection whatsoever to Helen Lyle. So we have to kind of, much like they did, sort of introduce another character, or maybe some relative of some kind. So let's just say, for shit's sake, let's say that the person that he starts following is somehow connected to the original love of his life, which I don't really remember from the first one what the name of that character was that he ended up getting killed for because of his love for the painting that he was doing. I don't know her name. I don't think it was Helen. It might have been Helen though. But anyway, it's been a while since I've seen that one too. So we're going with just off memory here. So let's just say that there's a connection. So we keep somewhat of a connection to Helen Lyle. A lot of times people can be relatives and things like that. So that kind of is a horror thing that happens. So let's go with that. Now the beautiful thing about these pitches too is that after I've done this pitch, I can do a pitch following Farewell to the Flesh, and we deal with those characters and following that up. So like by no means when I'm doing these pitches, they don't have to go like I'm pitching an entire trilogy or anything like that. For Scream, I did that just because that's kind of how Scream works. But for this, I think we'll just kind of do it movie by movie. So like whatever I pitch for this, what happens at the end of this movie doesn't have to connect to Farewell to the Flesh and all that stuff at all. Just letting you know that for the pitch sake. So yeah, let's just say we have a relative. I'm not going to name her. She's related somehow to Helen Lyle, or not Helen. No, she's related, distant relative of the woman that he was in love with. So she's maybe has, much like that's kind of been the story, has some resemblance, much like Helen Lyle did. So he becomes, of course, smitten as Candyman does. He's a man in love by God. Now, as far as what actress I get, I don't know. This was what, 92, 93, something like that, 94, something along. When did Farewell to the Flesh come out? Let's find out. Because the original was in 92. So Farewell to the Flesh, 95. Okay, so this was 3 years later. 95. Who was big in 95 that we could have gotten? That's blonde. Let's find out who is. This is a good time. I'm going all the way for this. We're gonna get a cast and everything. I'm gonna get this ready here. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Blonde actresses who were big in 95. Okay, let's see. We got a whole bunch of people here. Okay, we got Drew Barrymore. Let's see, what was this? Let's see. All right. Birthday between not birthdays. So many people were born in 95. Favorite actresses from 95 to 99. Let's just do that. And let's figure this out. Let's figure this thing out. Because I still want someone to have some name value. Because for Farewell to the Flesh, I really didn't know the actress that well. So let's get some people in here that maybe around that time would have been someone who could, along with Tony Todd, be a name for the movie so we can continue the series and be successful. Let's see. Thora Birch. She's blonde. It's a possible. Mina Savari, she'd be all right. Let's see. Seeing all the people who were big at this time. Same time, we don't go too young because, we don't make Tony Todd creepy or anything. Let's see. Let's see, at what point, how old would they have been? Let me see, how old was Mina Sarayan? How old is she now? She's 44 years old, so 95. She was born in 79, so she's like 1 year younger than me, so wow, crazy. We'll go with Mina Sarayan. Let's go ahead. She by that time she would have just been, the American Pie movies hadn't come out yet, so she would have still been kind of an unknown. But we're gonna go with her. So she's gonna star in this movie. All right, give her first big break. But she starts hearing. Maybe she's a student and she's starting to hear about. I like kind of a college setting. Let's go with a college setting. Well, let's not go to New Orleans. They did that in Farewell to Flush. Let's stick with where we're at, which was like outside Chicago and stuff. So let's say like maybe she's going to Illinois University or something like that. So she's a college student. She starts to hear about the Candyman thing. She also studies the Helen Lyle thing, and she's studying urban legends. Very much kind of like what Helen Lyle was doing. So we keep that connection going. So her and her friends start to hear about these things, and fascinating. So definitely don't want to make it exactly the first movie because that's we don't want to repeat too much. But there should be a connection there. Now I considered maybe bringing Anthony's character like so they did for the requel, but I don't want to just jump off that section there. So I'm like, he's still going to be pretty little at this point. But yeah, I also think that I really want the community of Cabrini Green to really just try to like if she goes down there and her friends go down there, they're like, get the fuck out of here. And not like in a threatening way, but just like, get the fuck out of here. You do not want to do not pull this crap. We've already been through so much. We've had like fires here. We've had all this. It's just this whole, it's the projects. There's all this shit going on. We're just trying to live our damn lives. And all you people, dumb white people come in here and fucking summoning Candyman and just making a freaking mess. Goddamn white people ruined everything. Your gentrification crap. Anyway. So yeah, that's what we would do there. Yeah, Mina Savari's character will be our main character. Candyman will become smitten with her. And we're not too worried too much about the age difference so much because it's whatever. It's fine. Because at that point, 95, how old was I? I was in high school. That might be a little too young. Maybe not Mina Savari. Anyway, let's not worry about who's actually. It was an idea, but she wasn't actually that big in 95. So, yeah, whatever. We'll just get an unknown. Who cares? We're just selling this movie on Tony Todd. Anyway. So Tony Todd's whole thing is he's still trying to seduce this other woman and stuff but he starts to, her friends start being stupid and, doing the Candyman thing, and he kills them, of course, because got to get some body count here. But I think it would be interesting, like, if she just has, several friends who are, let's make it a little diverse, too, so we have diverse friends, because that's a good thing, being diverse. And yeah, also, like, I would definitely have her have an African-American friend, much like Helen Lyle did. But, like, this friend will not be jumping. She'll be like, no, seriously, I've heard about this Candyman stuff. You got to get the hell away from this Candyman stuff. It is not going to be good. And the last thing I don't want to do, and they were smart about in Farewell Flesh, is I don't want to have it just be like her getting blamed for all the murders, because that's been done. We've done that. Why repeat history? But yeah, I think the main thing is, how are we getting Candyman? How do we stop him? How are we going to stop him this time? So I think the main thing I would do is probably try to focus on, like, how do we get him back in the mirror, and we got to keep him in this mirror. But we got to find, like, this whole mirror universe that he's coming from, essentially, that he's being able to trap in the mirror. I feel like we have to trap him in the mirror somehow. So I think they kind of summon something, they work some kind of spell out, maybe they talk to some people, and then they basically, like, towards the end, they just kind of comes down to showdown. He's still trying to seduce this main character, try to get her to come with him or whatever. In fact, that's what I would do, is, like, I would actually end it with sort of almost a cliffhanger, is that he gets trapped in the mirror, but he pulls her in with him. So she's stuck in the mirror world with him. And that's pretty much how we would end it, with sort of a like teaser that maybe she'll be back. And obviously, Candyman's going to be back probably. But yeah, that's how I would end it. Like, boom, Candyman kills a bunch of people, and he is able to take the love with him that he wasn't able to do with Helen Lyle because she died. But then she got trapped in the mirror, and it was a whole weird thing. But yeah, so I would connect it with Helen Lyle just to get that connection started, and then I would build up a new character that was connected to the original love of his life, which would then be trapped in the mirror with Candyman. But it would be of a very specific mirror that they would trap, and then they would basically like take the mirror and deconnect it from the wall so that he couldn't go through the mirror. So kind of, almost like Superman, 2, where they put him in the, the spinning thing. Not exactly like that, but basically he'll be trapped in the mirror. Very much, almost like the guy who's looks at his own painting and all that and gets trapped in it. Very much kind of like that, except Candyman gets stuck in a mirror. So that's how it would end Candyman 2. We wouldn't call it Farewell to the Flesh, but Candyman's Return, Candyman's Revenge, any of those kind of titles would probably work. So that's my pitch for Candyman 2. Following up the original Candyman and having a little bit more of a connection, I think, to the original than Farewell to the Flesh did. And we connect it to the, his original love. So that's my pitch, guys. Hope you like it. I will go and watch Farewell to the Flesh again. I have to figure out where it's playing at or what I got to watch it on. And then I'll watch Candyman 3 as well for these pitch. And I've already seen the new one, so I can just kind of follow up on that. I've got some ideas on that too. But yeah, so that's my pitch for Candyman 2, guys. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the Night Court Retrospective Podcast. This is kind of why I'm wearing this hat, because, Harry Anderson. Have a good night, guys.